Well, aggressive featherweights, Luis Rosa 15-0 and Jorge Diaz 17-2 might steal the show on this week's Friday Night Fights. That was tweeted by our very own Nigel Collins. Make sure you are following him on Twitter. And guess what? That fight is coming up right now.
Friday Night Fights presented by Corona Extra as we move along on our fight card. Junior featherweights up next here as we'll be working our way to our main event. Our co-feature scheduled for 8 rounds. Locally based Jorge Diaz trying to hand the 22-year-old Luis Rosa the first loss of his career. And there is the 26-year-old Jorge Diaz, 17-2 with 10 knockouts. He's from nearby New Brunswick, New Jersey. He's fought just once a year for the past 2 years. Prior to that stretch, he did pull off a win against the former Cuban gold medalist and star Jan Bartolome back in '09. More recently, he was TKO. And there is Luis Rosa, the 22-year-old from New Haven, Connecticut, 15-0 with 7 knockouts. He is trained by his father, who runs the Boxing and Faith Gym back in the Elm City. He's coming off a 3rd-round TKO win against Andre Wilson in his last fight back on December 4th. Let's see what the fighters need to do to look like a champ. Brought to you by Just for Men, Teddy.
Well, why don't we start? He earned the right to go first. He's undefeated. Let's start with Rosa. He's coming off a KO loss. That's Diaz, that is. Well, jump on him while his confidence might still be low. And for Diaz, we'll try to counter and time him coming in.
Diaz and Rosa underway here. They are scheduled for 8 with Albert Brown as the referee.
You know, Joe, the first thing is, you know, you look at Diaz. He was knocked out his last fight, of course. Very, very difficult, maybe impossible way to go into a fight with an undefeated prospect. You wonder, at least I wonder as a trainer, where will the confidence come from? But maybe I can answer my own question. Diaz has fought the better competition, and he's been 12 rounds with a good level fighter, while Rosa has never been past 8. Now, I know he doesn't have to go past 8 tonight, but maybe that's where the confidence for Diaz goes.
There's a low blow there that Rosa landed.
Timeout, timeout, timeout.
Watch what happened here on that left hand that strayed, as Jorge Diaz will be given 5 minutes. Time has actually been of great concern today for Jorge Diaz because he spent most of the day, Teddy. You talk about not wanting your fighter distracted the night before and the day of a fight. He was expecting his firstborn today and was born this afternoon. He stayed with his girlfriend until 3:30 this afternoon, did Jorge Diaz.
Well, maybe that's where he gets his confidence. Maybe that's where he gets his, you know, maybe that's what buoys him. You just gave it to me, having a child. I mean, you know, a blessed moment like that, you know, a miraculous moment like that. You're fortunate enough to have a baby. Maybe that's what makes him forget about being knocked out in his last fight and gets him past what he needs to get past with that memory and with the knowledge that, hey, I have another mouth to feed. I have another responsibility. I better get myself on that horse and get riding.
So he stayed with his girlfriend today, Teddy, until 3:30 in the afternoon. He leaves. He could only stay so long. Had to come over here for his responsibility as a professional fighter. And then his firstborn arrived, a little boy. So lives only about 35 minutes away from here in West Orange, New Jersey, as they are exchanging here early in round 1.
Don't push his head down. Let him go, Luis.
Diaz has lost 2 of his last 4, so again, where's his confidence? Needs to maybe maybe even be reminded in the corner that, hey, you know, you have a kid to take care of. You better find a way to win this fight. You better find a way to get to where you need to get to. And so far, so good. Diaz having a pretty good round after that low blow slowed him down early on.
Very good action here in the final minute of round number 1. Good exchanges between Diaz and the unbeaten Luis Rosa. Joe and Teddy with you here at the Cody Arena. Our main event, Elvir Marici against Blake Caparillo. Used to train Elvir Marici. How do you see the fight, Teddy?
Well, the first thing I think about is Super's on in a couple days, not too far away from here. The big game, of course. And the first thing that comes to mind is, at least for me, I'm always thinking about scoring field goals or touchdowns in the big game. And I'm thinking about that, staying with the football theme. I'm thinking about tonight's main event. Is it field goals or is it touchdowns? Well, Marici, kind of like Peyton Manning, he's the better technician. He's the guy who knows how to fight a little bit. And by the way, that is not Marici. But he's the guy that knows how to fight better than that man, Caparillo. Caparillo's a southpaw. He has that going for him. And he's undefeated. He's got that going for him. He's never learned how to lose. And he comes forward. But Marici, as I said, more polished. And both these fighters, at the point in their careers, Marici, at 34 years of age, can't afford to lose. Of course, Caparillo wants to win this fight in America, on television. They understand what's at stake. So I'm thinking they're both going to be looking to throw the ball downfield. They're both going to be looking to get in the end zone. They're both looking for touchdowns, not field goals. 20-17, final score. I'll let you know who a little later.
That's coming up. This has been a good start to our co-feature. Diaz and Rosa with some promising exchanges here. If they keep up this pace, going to be very entertaining. As Diaz continues to try to get right into the chest of the unbeaten 22-year-old.
Come on, punch out, guys. Break, don't punch, don't punch, don't punch. Watch the heads, guys, watch the heads, both of you, watch the heads.
Right now, a little adjustment by Rosa. He sees that Diaz trying to be the dog in this fight, come forward, turn Rosa into a cat, try to do the big biting. So Rosa, oh, he's doing a little counterpunching now. And now he's turning southpaw.
That straight left, and then gets him right into the corner.
Don't punch.
Separated by Brown. Albert Brown, the third man in the ring tonight.
Come on, let him go.
Rosa having a better round, warming up a little bit. Most of his fights have been in New England, New York area. Most of the fights for Diaz, well, right here in the state, his home state of New Jersey. And see, that's what I mean, the adjustment by Rosa. You know, you got a bull in the china closet, and Diaz coming forward. So Rosa, the southpaw, right now is saying, all right, you know what? Instead of banging horns
let him go, Jorge.
or locking horns with the bull, I'll take a little step back and let him walk into shots, give myself room to punch. Rosa did a pretty good job with that a little while ago.
You keep pushing this down.
That is a slip. That is not a knockdown at all there.
Go.
Both men opening up wide here in the final moments of round 2.
Break. No knockdown, no knockdown. Wait, time!
Joe Tessitore, Teddy Atlas with you here at the Cody Arena in West Orange, New Jersey. Good pace early here between Luis Rosa, the 15-0 22-year-old from New Haven, and Jorge Diaz. The first-time dad as of this afternoon, little boy born, who he's going to go home to after he takes care of business here. 26-year-old from right here in New Jersey. Round number 3 scheduled for 8.
I don't know if Diaz is in great shape, or he's just so nervous waiting for his child to be born that he hasn't eaten recently. But on the scale, Diaz came in the lightest weight he's been in, Joe, in over 4 years.
Push it that hard, though. Come on.
Came in at 121.7. Rose is 5'5", 123.2. As he comes surging in now.
The one thing that I think is going to really serve Rosa and really hurt Diaz. Diaz has been inactive 7.5 months. His last fight, of course, he got knocked out. That's tough to overcome. Get rid of those cobwebs from that, the memory of that, the negativity of that mentally. And if you go back 2 fights, Diaz was off 1 year and 3 months. You look at Rosa, just the opposite. Only fought 1.5 months ago. That's the way to stay sharp, confident, and to improve in the ring. And right now, Rosa turns back to orthodox after being southpaw the last round for much of the round. And he's trying to go get Diaz now. Now he's trying to be the guy pushing forward a little bit.
As he does those last 2 times, Diaz wrapping up with that left hand around the right arm of Luis Rosa, who's digging in with left hands in the body, and now almost caught him with that right hand on the inside as Albert Brown calls for them to get him up a bit.
Plenty of opportunities to use the jab for both guys, because both these guys like to look for big shots. So whoever uses the jab, well, you know what? And as I say it, Diaz grabbing that moment, whoever used that jab, they can separate themselves. They can grab some parts of the round. They can get ahead in those spots where there's not a lot going on. Because other than the jabs, everything else, pretty much a power punch. And with
those are the total jab numbers, to your point, Teddy. They've only been 6 total jabs landed, according to CompuBox.
Yeah, and again, if somebody in the corner, and you always need a good corner, just like you need good coaches on the sideline in football. If somebody just says, hey, you got a chance to use the jab, that somebody could have a little bit of a lead. But right now, Rosa, the undefeated guy with the confidence.
They're ruling that a knockdown, and you can see the disbelief in the face of Diaz. He is quite upset that that's been ruled a knockdown. So let's show you what happened there at the end of that round as a knockdown was scored.
Don't worry about that.
Look if a punch caused this here, Teddy. As Rosa, yeah, there was a left hand right there. Then he ties up and a right hand goes to the body, but he was tying up, and I think that's the complaint from Diaz. But watch the left hand that affects him right there.
Yeah, it's a good left hook, actually, and it hurt him. And then he fell forward. What he was trying to do was fall forward and try to gather himself, not get knocked down. Obviously tie up Rosa, and Rosa did the smart thing. He moved his feet, he fell back, and Diaz went down to the ground, and therefore you got a knockdown.
Speaking of guys that hurt people for many years, Takeo Spikes, former NFL All-Pro. I always say NFL guys gravitate towards Teddy. You come here, you sit ringside. What kind of appreciation do you have? I mean, you spent a career damaging people. What kind of appreciation you have watching this up close?
Great appreciation for the sport, because there's so many similarities to football. And you get a lot of guys. This is the only time you can go into a ring and compete and hit somebody and not get in trouble for it.
Takeo Spikes, former NFL All-Pro, joining Teddy and me here for round number 4 of what's turning out to be a pretty good little action fight here between Rosa and Diaz. Super Bowl edition of Friday Night Fights as we are here in the New York, New Jersey area. What's it like, Super Bowl? I mean, you've been to all these weeks through the years of your career. How are the guys enjoying the week here in Metro New York?
Well, you know, it's a good time for all the guys to come to the city who competed against each other week in and week out, hang out, talk about how each other dominated each other, and, you know, and get one up on another.
Don't hold him, let him go, Lord.
So at the end of that 3rd round, Rosa scores the knockdown.
Break.
Got a 6'2", 245-pound linebacker sitting in between us. You know, Teddy and I often gripe about the heavyweight division. You're the problem with the heavyweight division. We needed boxers like you the past 15 years, American fighters like you, Takeo.
We're extinct. You know, I don't know if I'll be big enough, tough enough to go into the ring in the heavyweight division.
Takeo.
Another knockdown being scored here, second of the fight for the unbeaten Rosa.
Rosa's starting to dominate, obviously. The memory in the mind of Diaz being knocked out in his last round.
Push his head down, Lewis.
Oh,
no knockdown.
it's showing a little bit.
No knockdown. No knockdown.
He's falling in, not really
Don't push
together,
his head
not
down.
really up on his confidence right now. And again, Rosa doing everything he can do to keep Diaz from getting that confidence, turning southpaw now, making things more difficult. And again, I say it, what I said earlier, Rosa, every once in a while, Rosa do that. He'll move his feet and do that. By moving his feet, he creates a little room and a little space where Diaz walks into punches. You know, a lot of the public might be watching this and say, hey, Teddy, where's the separation? You see two gladiators just winging away. But one gladiator, the guy in gold, taking little steps back and letting Diaz fall into shots. In other words, using his head, using his intellect, using his technique, and taking advantage of the aggression of Diaz.
Exactly what he's been doing here on this run. Now it's Diaz who backs off for just a moment, as then he chases him down with the left hand and then takes a knee himself. And they're saying that is not a knockdown here in the final seconds of round 4. Glad to have Takeo Spikes, former NFL All-Pro, joining us, which means that in just a moment we will get Teddy and Takeo's Super Bowl prediction as we come to the end of round number 4. Undefeated Rosa in control with 2 knockdowns scored. Good action throughout. And let's check in with Todd Grisham in the studio.
If he became a professional fighter, what do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I think he rattled him for 15 years, destroying a lot of running backs trying to come through the hole. Round number 5 here. All right, every year we do this, our Super Bowl edition. Teddy has a high winning percentage in his Super Bowl prediction. I'm just warning you, Takeo, but now he's with an All-Pro. We're going to put him on the record here. We'll start with you quickly. How do you see Seattle and Denver come Sunday here in New Jersey, and your prediction, Takeo?
My prediction, I'm going to get right to it. I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos. I'm on the Denver train. Basically what Peyton Manning has been able to do the entire year, breaking the records of pretty much all the records of the quarterbacks, and him raising the level of play from the rest of his guys going into this game. I really don't see Seattle being able to keep up with that from an offensive pace from Russell Wilson.
Albert Brown giving out another warning here as Rosa comes forward. Tried to land that right hand. Teddy, your Super Bowl prediction this year?
Takeo, somebody told you who I like, didn't they?
Well, I was told you had a high winning percentage, so
Somebody told you.
it was 50-50.
Somebody let it out. Well, you know what? With all that great science and great stats, and you looking it over and really looking at it with all those kinds of angles, I'm going to go beyond that. I'm going to go to the real scientific way. And it's the year of the horse.
Okay.
In Chinese New Year, it's the year of the horse.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's what I've been told, and I'm going with it. So I'm going to go with the Broncos. They are a horse.
The year of the horse.
And Peyton Manning, as you said, it's been his year.
Right.
And no better way to finish it than with a Super Bowl. And with a little bit of sibling rivalry, matching his brother Eli
with two
of those rings. So there it is. I'm sure the lines in Vegas are changing already. Because of you and me. And
They heard about the high percentage, and then me coming on here agreeing with you, that makes it even better for Vegas.
Let me ask you a question. You know, I always say to Gil that 75% of boxing is mental. I mean, it is in my business, you know, about controlling your emotions, really your fear.
Right.
How much of it is in your sport is in the mental dimension?
I would go to 70 to 80%.
Wow.
Because when you first come into the league, and I never boxed, but when you first come in, you're playing off true, raw athletic ability. But at the end of the day, in order for you to make progress and strategically get ahead of the next man, because everybody is blessed with talent, you have to study the game and understand tendencies what your opponents may show.
Well said. Well said.
Big Mr. Spikes, what a nice visit. You come ringside anytime you... Joe Tessitore, Teddy Atlas with you here on our Super Bowl edition of Friday Night Fights. As Luis Rosa, who's trained by his father, who runs the Boxing and Faith Gym in New Haven.
Let him go. Let him go.
Promising future. He's 22 years old, and he has a 15-0 record. And he is
break. Don't punch, don't punch.
managed by Mike Criscio, who also guided the career of Chad Dawson. Of course, went on to become a world champion from the same town in Connecticut. There's a short right hand that time from Diaz that came through, and it was just nothing but return fire from Rosa coming out.
But always opportunities
Yep.
to get back in the fight for Diaz because, you know, Rose is not exactly Pernell Whitaker when it comes to defensive grounders. I mean, he stands straight up, he comes at you, he's fun to watch. I mean, no doubt about it, but he comes a little fat with the punches. Always an opportunity to catch him in between a punch if you punch with him, or catch him over top when he's throwing a jab or something because he's throwing straight. But right now, all the catching, all the catching being given out by Rosa to Diaz. And right now, Rosa, well, early on, Rosa saw that he could take a step back, let the bull in the china shop, Diaz come forward, create movement, you know, use Diaz's aggression against him, walk him into shots. Right now, oh, he's jumping in with punches because he sees an opportunity, Rosa does, to catch Diaz going backwards. And you know why, Joe? Because we're at the point in the fight where all the aggression, all the work, starting to pay dividends, breaking down Diaz a little bit, getting Diaz to retreat a little more. And Rosa recognizes that and recognizes this, that he's going to be able to catch Diaz stepping out, pulling out, maybe even wilting a little bit.
Stepped into a right hand, followed it up with a left, and now takes small steps forward before Diaz ties up again. See that swelling around both eyes of Jorge Diaz, who's going to be going home, as we told you, to meet his firstborn, a little baby boy. He was born this afternoon.
Yeah, Diaz, well, he's starting to look like, and he's starting to act like the sun. You know, that powerful star up in the sky that gets awful hot around July and August, and sometimes it can evaporate a puddle. And right now, Rosa trying to evaporate Diaz.
Good, sharp right hand, and another one for good measure here. Antoine Smith, Gonzalez we've seen through the years. That's next week, our main event from Chicago, a 9 o'clock Eastern start time for Friday Night Fights. Here is the 8th and final round as Luis Rosa did such damage at the end of that last round against Diaz.
Well, you know, sometimes looking at somebody's face and the swelling that they may have absorbed, well, it's not always, it's not really indicative all the time of who's winning the fight. Tonight it is.
No doubt. You look at each guy's face and you know exactly what the scorecard should read.
Matter of fact, something different happened in between rounds. A great doctor came up to me just a moment ago, Dr. Charles Malone, probably the best hand surgeon in the United States, maybe in the world, came up to me, tapped me on the shoulder and said, I think they should stop this fight. And again, we're always thinking about safety. That's a doctor telling you. You have doctors here at ringside, but...
And another right hand from Rosa moments ago that just snapped the head. I mean, look at the punishment Diaz has taken as Rosa goes right, left, right, left.
And exactly what we're talking about, exactly what Dr. Malone was talking about. You know...
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Dr. Malone has done some pretty significant hand surgeries to world championship boxers through the years.
Oh, yeah, many of them. Many of some of the best fighters that have ever put those gloves on. Some of the best football players, basketball players, hockey players that have ever performed in their own arenas. And then there you see Diaz still showing plenty of heart. landing a right hand, but, you know, it's like the ocean keeps coming, keeps coming. It's hard to stop it. And right now, well, Diaz really feels like the shore, and the ocean is crashing on that shore and taking a little piece of that shore away. And that's why I think we talk about that fight should be stopped before it's too late, because how much of that shore is taken away? How much of that person is taken away with these kind of punches?
And these right hands from the undefeated Luis Rosa, they are landing right on the same spot. If you look around the left eye of Diaz, you will see swelling that has grown even throughout this 8th round now. You can see the pronounced swelling around that left eye.
And again, the men in charge, the people that are charged with the responsibility of looking out for the fighters, of course it starts with the corners. And then, of course, the doctors at ringside and the referee inside making that decision on when enough is enough. And again, another big, big shot, big right hand landed by Rosa. And we talked about it early. A lot of opportunities to catch Diaz, you know, when he's thrown wide or when he's jabbing, because he stands straight up. A lot of heart shown by Diaz, but only one winner, and that's Rosa.
Man, Rosa just punished him in the last 6 minutes of this fight. Impressive down the stretch, and he scored 2 knockdowns early as well. We will hear from the judges. There's the unbeaten kid from New Haven. More to come. Stay with us. Jorge Diaz came in confident against Luis Rosa, but Rosa is going to leave unbeaten after this display. Scored a knockdowns heading to 3rd and 4th round.
There was all one man, and that man was Rosa, mostly with power punches. His power punch is just a little shorter than Diaz's. Plenty of heart by Diaz, but also plenty of punches absorbed all night long.
I mean, he was taking and taking in those last 6 minutes, and Rosa was connecting with ease with a series of right hands. 78-72, says Teddy, as the 22-year-old stands by. Facebook scoring 7 rounds to 1, say you, the fans at home, as Luis Rosa looking to move to 16-0. We go up to Generous Joe Antonacci.
Boxing fans, after 8 action-packed rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards. Judge John Stewart scores the bout 78-72. Judge Kason Cheek scores it 79-71. And Judge John Poteray scores it 80-70, all in favor of your winner by unanimous decision. From New Haven, Connecticut, Luis the KO King Rosa.
So he'll make the easy drive up I-95 with that perfect record. Jorge Diaz is going to go home about a half an hour away to meet his newborn son with those swollen eyes. But it's Rosa who's 16-0 as we are working our way towards our main event. The undefeated Blake Caparillo taking on the veteran Elvir Maricki, and Bernardo is standing by in Maricki's locker room.
Thank you, Joe. 34-year-old Elvir Maricki is going into his 46th professional fight. He's fighting at light heavyweight.